The premiere of the RHAP Rewind, talking about Kidnation, is sponsored by our friends over at Ipvanish. Worried about online security? The best way to protect yourself online is by using the privacy app Ipvanish. Ipvanish is a virtual private network, VPN for short, used on computers, tablets, and phones to secure your connection to the internet and protect your personal information. Ipvanish helps protect you wherever you use public Wi-Fi, which is not always secure. When you use Ipvanish, your personal data like your emails, files, even your credit card and banking information, it's all encrypted, helping keep you safe from online thieves. How many times have you Googled something only to have an ad follow you across websites and on your social media channels? Well, that's your IP address being tracked. Advertisers and hackers use it to keep tabs on you. With Ipvanish, your real IP address is hidden, keeping your identity safe. And Ipvanish has a zero-log policy, so they're not recording your internet activity. What you do online stays private online. And when it comes to internet connections at home and on the go, I know I can depend on Ipvanish. Ipvanish is rated 4.7 out of 5 by real customers on Trustpilot. If you care about your internet privacy and you want to get reliable online data protection, then head on over to ipvanish.com/Rob. Plans start at $3.49 a month, which is a great price to secure all your devices. All you got to do is go to ipvanish.com/Rob to start protecting yourself today. Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back here. Brand new year, brand new project we are dropping on you. It's the RHAP Rewatch, where each month we will be taking a look at an old series. Some I've seen, some I have not. We'll be going through it over the course of the month. And to start things off here in the month of January, every Friday, we will be taking a look at Kidnation. In this episode, we're going to be talking only about the premiere of the series Kidnation, which aired on CBS back in 2008, I believe. Is that correct, Phil?
Yeah, 2007 or 2007 actually.
2007.
Yeah.
All right, we're off to a great start already as we take a look back with an expert of all things Kidnation. We got to know him over the summer during Big Brother 21. He is a Kidnation aficionado. Let's welcome in my partner for every step of this ride here on Kidnation, the great Phil Thompson. Phil, how are you?
I'm doing great, Rob. I'm so excited that we're finally able to talk about this show. I've been dying to just listen to an RHAP podcast about Kidnation for so long, and the fact that I'm here and able to talk with you about it is just amazing. So I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, Phil, in our very first conversation that we ever had, we were talking to you back in June of 2020, June of last year, feels nice to say. You mentioned you love Kidnation. Kidnation has a special place in your heart. You are a young man, and I thought that was interesting because it seemed like that you were of the age of the kids on the show, potentially, when you were watching Kidnation in the first run. Phil, could you tell us a little bit about your backstory with Kidnation?
So, yeah, I was 8 years old when Kidnation premiered. I was in third grade, and my parents didn't really let me watch a lot of, what was on adult TV. My dad was really into Survivor, but he didn't want me to watch Survivor. And so when Kidnation came on, my dad was like, all right, this is going to be our show. You're going to be allowed to watch this show on weekdays. And I watched it, and, I'm a huge Survivor fan now, and looking back, I totally see how much I was into, the social dynamics and everything, but, I was so blown away by it, and I was so sad when it got canceled, although looking back, now, I definitely see why it was canceled.
Okay. Well, Phil, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, not of your Kidnation fandom? So for people that might not have heard you during the Big Brother season, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do when you're not watching Kidnation?
Yeah, so I am just a film student. I go to film school in New York, and I just love to study and watch a lot of films and, write about film. And, my outlet besides that is I'm really into reality TV. That's kind of the one thing that I'm allowed to watch where Like, I don't have to really critically assess. I do critically assess stuff, but I think about things in a much different manner, and I kind of am able to just fully enjoy it. And you know, Survivor and Big Brother are shows like that where, you know, I'm able to kind of use a different part of my brain and like assess social dynamics as opposed to just like talking about, you know, sound and video and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of just who I am, and that's, those are my only interests, basically.
Okay. Well, I'm really excited to talk about Kidnation with you, and we'll have some guests along the way. But today we're just going to talk about the premiere. Then we have this spaced out. There are 5 Fridays in the month of January. We're going to talk about episode number 1. There are 13 episodes in Kidnation, correct? Yep.
Yes,
and
there are 13.
And then in each of the next couple of weeks that we are going to be talking about 3 episodes a week each of the following Fridays in January, where we will wrap things up on the last Friday in January, and we will announce what our RHAP rewatch will be for the month of February. We will not discuss spoilers because I have not seen the show, so I'm very excited. We will go through this in the real time, and in sort of, I've called this like an evolution of strategy style. We will be going through the episodes one by one by one, and when we get to next week, we'll discuss episodes 2, 3, 4 sequentially as they come up and do a full recap of all things Kidnation. And Phil, of course, how many times have you seen the series?
So I saw it when it came out, and then last summer I was like, oh, what if I like look back and watch this show? Because people on the internet were talking about it, so I was like, all right, let me go back. And I was like, oh my God, this show is crazy. And then now I just rewatched the first episode. I'm gonna watch along with you, Rob, so I can kind of just talk about the episode that I just saw as opposed to everything else.
Great. I'm so excited. I don't know what I was doing in 2007. 2007 is sort of like a weird period for me in my reality TV experience where I did Survivor. I got done with Survivor. I was still like doing Survivor related things with when I was doing the Fishbowl, if people are familiar with my backstory, where I was doing that for a few other seasons. And then I took a hiatus. I took some time away from Survivor, really, between like 2007 to 2010. I was not super paying close attention to things that were going on, basically between roughly, in Survivor terms, between Fiji and up until Heroes versus Villains. And I started to get back into the Survivor stuff during Samoa. So there's a couple of years there where I'm not paying super close attention to anything with CBS reality. I'm doing other things in my professional career. So it's a little bit of a dark spot for me in terms of my reality TV knowledge. So I wasn't following Kidnation at the time. I said, oh, this is interesting. I've always wanted to go back. And this has been ever since we've been in, I know seems like years that we've been in this lockdown, but I've always said if I was going to go back and rewatch one series, this was going to be it, Phil. And then when you and I started talking, I have always wanted to go ahead. So this is a bit of a bucket list project for me.
Now, this is, a huge bucket list project to even just listen to. So I'm so excited. And yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. So Kidnation is available on YouTube. It is available for free. All the episodes are up on YouTube. You can watch along if you so desire. You do not have to. We will try to make this as user-friendly as possible for people who either watched the show way back when or have never seen the show. We'll tell you about what the observations were in terms of watching this 13 going on 14-year-old piece of media. And so Kidnation, Phil, could you describe what the premise of Kidnation is?
So yeah, Kidnation is a show by CBS, and it's basically, they take 40 kids from the ages of 8 years old to 15 or 16 years old, and they put them on this old West set in New Mexico, and they have to basically fend for themselves for 40 days. That's the basic premise, where the kids have to cook for themselves. They have to clean for themselves. No one is observing them. No one's watching them. And they kind of have to live. And the show is about, watching these kids kind of form their own society in the most basic kind of premise. There's more to it than that, but that's kind of where like the show kind of started.
Okay. My first question here, Phil, is why? What were they trying to test here with this premise of, can 40 children fend for themselves in the Old West? No. The answer is clearly no. Children should not be unsupervised in the Old West. Period.
Yes,
end of sentence.
So, yes, that is the answer, and I think that's the answer that we all kind of came to realize over the course of watching this show. You said that, you know, you fell off of, you know, kind of Survivor and reality TV off, you know, in that era, and I think a lot of people were at the time. You know, Survivor, obviously, Big Brother, where they were huge when they premiered in 2000, and then, you know, the ratings kind of slowly began to dip. You know, people stopped kind of watching it, started becoming less interesting. And so, you know, CBS really was trying to pull people back into the reality TV premise. You know, I saw this quote, and the CBS entertainment president at the time said, you know, she was trying to make a reality show change the landscape of television. And so in order to do that, you have to stir public debate. And so, you know, think about the year before. This is 2007. And in the year 2006, Survivor Cook Islands came out. And that was, again, something that was so controversial, something that people, you know, were kind of frowned upon at the time and kind of, you know, confused about. And that's what CBS was trying to do. They were trying to get people confused, but they wanted them to watch something. And so this is kind of like a premise where it sounds so insane. Even a reality person who doesn't like reality TV wants to go watch the show.
Okay, this is interesting, Phil. So you're saying that we are in an era of this moment of where Kidnation is on the air, where CBS is sort of trying to program. Well, people hear about it like, well, they can't really do that, can they? That's not a real thing, is it?
And then they have them do it.
and
I think that's the other thing with, I think, this show, right? And we talk about, basically the person who made the show and even the host of the show, they come from a documentary background. And so when you look at Survivor's genesis, you look at how the first season of Survivor was really this, you know, kind of documentary thing where it wasn't really focused on, you know, the strategy. It was more focused on watching these people trying to like make a society. And so I think that was the initial premise. You know, the executive producers and everyone really wanted to just kind of see these kids make a society. But we're at the era of reality TV now where we want to see drama. We want to see villains. We want to see a bunch of crazy stuff happen. And so Kidnation is like the perfect collision of both of those reality TV premises where we're trying to get these children to, you know, be raw and naturalistic and authentic, but we also want, you know, entertaining television. We want characters. And that's kind of the dilemma with Kidnation, I think.
Why didn't Kidnation work? Was it a ratings failure, or did people just sort of like critically say, this is not something we should be doing? We are endangering children.
It was a little bit of both because, you know, the premiere got a lot of views, but people were kind of, the thing is, Survivor, you know, every episode, someone gets voted out. There's drama in that, but with Kidnation, no one gets voted out. There's no real strategy or anything like that. So I guess after a while, you're kind of just watching these kids and you're like, okay, you know, that's it. And so the ratings kind of fell. And also, people's parents, the kids' parents were suing. Like one girl's parents, Devad, you know, she got into a little accident. You don't really see it that much on the show, but basically she was cooking and grease like hit her, and you know, her mom found out and her mom got upset and her mom tried to sue CBS, and then they were like, pull the plug on this. It got a lot of negative reviews, so CBS was like, it's not worth our time.
Yeah, and just for people who are not familiar with the premise, either were too young or did not catch it in the real time, so they take these 40 kids and they have to go and fend for themselves in the Old West. And to the degree that I was surprised that they have to cook and clean and use a stove and play with fire, and also 40 kids share one bathroom, and also operate heavy machinery and lug heavy things and do manual labor. And even knowing what this was, I was surprised at how dangerous this is, Phil.
They have the kids walk like half a mile to get water, to get one of the most basic human functions. They have to walk in the hot New Mexico sun to get water, which is absolutely insane. But, I guess that's where the television, drama comes from.
Right. This wasn't like camp where I kind of thought like, okay, it's camp. The kids will, there's food put out for them. No, they have to like cook for themselves on a hot stove that they light with fire. This was, this was insane.
Yeah. The thing is with this show, though, is that they didn't of course, it sounds like they just cast a ton of kids that, would be entertaining and funny. But some of the kids on this show, they're kids who grew up in farms, and they're kids, who are very smart and talented. And there's prodigies on this show. And so, they definitely tried to cast the most exceptional children that they possibly can to some extent. But they're still children. They're still children, and they're still, they have to. The only way they can cook is to start a fire. The only way they can drink water is to walk a mile away. It's insane.
Phil, did your parents have any conversations with you at the time that Kidnation was airing about how this is dangerous? Don't try any of the things that you're seeing on Kidnation?
No. I was telling my father, next season, I'm applying for the show and I'm going to be on Kidnation.
Okay.
And my father was like, okay. I mean, I don't know, maybe, but it got canceled and that never happened. I don't think my father was also going to let me. I think he was just kind of encouraging me. But I think that did happen with a lot of kids where they saw that and they were inspired by it and they were like, maybe I could do that too. I mean, they definitely can. And, you could see all these kids kind of fail, but it is kind of, faux inspirational in that way, I would say, for kids.
So, Phil, I've only seen 1 hour of Kidnation. I'm very excited to watch more, but have the children that were associated with this show, aged 8 to 15 in the real time, are there sort of like well-known personalities that are still in the Kidnation universe? Like, are some of these like 8-year-olds, have they gone on to become 21-year-olds who are like posting about Kidnation and stuff like that?
Yeah. Like basically, I think a year or two ago, I think one of the kids who was on the episode that we'll see today, he did an interview with a YouTuber named JonTron, and that kind of like made the show blow up again. And so now, especially over quarantine too, so many kids have been doing Reddit AMAs. They've been doing TikToks. They've been doing YouTube Q&As. They've been, kind of emerging from the limelight. But the thing is that Kidnation never like created any reality stars. Like funnily enough, you'd assume they would, but all the kids kind of grew up and, adjusted to normal life again. Good. I'm sure they're dealing with some traumas still, but they're, normal adults now.
And with the benefit of time, that had we covered this show in 2007, I think it would have been in poor taste to make fun of the children, correct?
Oh, of course. I mean, you'll see, there's some kids, especially the producers make the kids look so evil. Some of these kids are just the worst. Yeah.
But that being said, Phil, that with they're no longer children. So that I think it's perfectly like in bounds to make fun of the children now. Is that fair game?
Yeah, I think it would be okay. I to a certain extent. I mean, I'm not trying to, rain on anybody's parade. I'm excited to, talk about the outlandish stuff these children say and do. But yeah, I mean, I don't think they'd really mind now, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's so. I feel free. I feel like it would have been in poor taste, I think, to make fun of an 8-year-old. But I think that to make fun of an 8-year-old now that an 8-year-old is 21, I think seems okay to me.
It would be totally fine. Like, I remember in the era, all my friends in 3rd grade, for some reason, we all watched Kidnation. And so we'd come into school. I think Kidnation came on Monday nights, I'm pretty sure. And so we came into school on Tuesday, like, Taylor was the worst last night. Like, we hate Taylor. And, we would just and even our teacher was like, oh, I hate Taylor. I can't stand Taylor. Which, might have been inappropriate at the time, but now, Taylor's like, I don't even know, in her 20s. We're fine.
She's fine.
I think it'll be okay.
She's fine. She's doing great, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
All right. Kidnation takes place in a place called Bonanza City. is the name of the town in Kidnation. They try to feed us this backstory, Phil, that Bonanza City was a real place which settlers went to, and it was a failed experiment. The real life settlers of Bonanza City from 1885, they failed. They could not get along. That's not true?
That is not true. I mean, I don't know the full extent of the history of Bonanza City, but we're going to see across the show, the producers are going to spin this historical narrative of this is what Bonanza City was, and you guys are the ones bringing it back. You're the pioneers. And, I think a lot of the history is totally BS, and it's kind of just a narrative to start, the show's premise.
Yeah. Phil, the people of Bonanza City, they could not get along, and they could not make it work. They didn't work together. And, I'm reminded of the position that we are in modern times, where we live in a very divided country. Is there anything that we could learn from Kidnation? Should we look to the children to set an example of how to make our nation divided again?
Yeah, I think we can look to the children, because obviously CBS knows that, the children know all of the answers. They know everything about politics. They know everything about religion. They have a complex, nuanced perspective on the way that our societal structures work. And so we can definitely, 100%. Look to the children for guidance on how American can be structured from now on.
As we start our new year, perhaps that there are things here in Kidnation that can heal our real nation.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Rob. I think I think Joe Biden should play Kidnation episodes. He should just start playing them on YouTube, on his YouTube channel.
Look, in the downtime, in the transition, maybe this is something maybe put one person on the staff in charge of all right, well, let's just see if there's anything there.
Let's heal the nation. We'll see a quote that said the only adults that did it right are George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Gandhi. And I think, they're about to prove that 40 other kids can live up to those expectations.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the kids are brought out to Bonanza City on a big yellow school bus, because that's the only method to move children. Big yellow school bus.
Yeah, it makes it seem like they were, the parents dropped the kids off at their bus stop, and, they think they're about to go to school, but the bus takes a left turn, and now the kids don't really know where they're doing, and now they're stranded in the middle of New Mexico with nothing.
Yeah. And we hear from one of the children. I believe that this is Jimmy. He tells us right off the bat that maybe this is going to be a little harder than anticipated.
I'm not going to be with my parents. There's no adults, and I think I'm going to die out here because there's nothing.
Yeah. I mean, that was unsettling when 8-year-old Jimmy tells us on the bus, there's nothing out here. There's no parents, and I think I'm going to die out here.
I mean, it's the perfect way to set the tone for the show. It's just, these kids might die out here. We have no idea. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for the 8-year-old to say, yeah, I think I'm also going to die.
Also, I was looking at, the liability waivers that the parents had to sign for these children. And the liability waiver literally says that, if the children are, exposed to unmarked or uncontrollable hazards and conditions that may cause the minor serious bodily injury, illness, or death, CBS is not responsible for it.
Yeah.
Or death. So I guess, CBS does not care if these children live or die, for the sake of television, I guess.
Yeah, I think they cared. I think that they would ideally prefer none of the children died.
Yeah, for sure.
Phil, what was in it for the parents to, it was actually, you know what? I take it back, because after 9 months of lockdown, if you told me you were going to take my kids anywhere for 40 days, I'd strongly consider it. It wouldn't be an automatic yes, but Rob, we'd like to take at least one of your children to the Old West for an experiment that's going to be televised. Let me check with Nicole. Let me check with my wife.
Could be so. Did Dominic watch the show? Did he watch it with you?
I tried, Phil. I tried to take a page from your family's playbook, and I said, hey, want to watch this? And then they watched it for about 60 seconds and said, hey, we need to go ask Mom if we're allowed to eat candy right now.
And
I said, yeah, let me know how that goes.
The future. Yeah, it's the future of reality TV, I guess. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah.
They did watch an episode of Survivor Cagayan recently.
And they liked it? They enjoyed that one?
They did. We had an extensive conversation of which tribe should they be on, brains, beauty, or brawn?
And which one do they want to be on?
You know, it's complicated because you don't really want to tell, like, pigeonhole, like, little kids like that. Say, no, you're definitely not on the brains side.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with this show, too, is that, you know, they create these total archetypes out of, you know, these children. I don't know. It's kind of fascinating to look at in the way that, you know, we see these children are portrayed off the bat, like from the very beginning. The pull quotes we get from them are just like, okay, this is just reality TV. We're just getting these reality TV archetypes, the same Survivor archetypes, but they're just children.
All right,
yeah.
Phil, we have a host here for Kidnation who's sort of here to facilitate everything, and his name is Jonathan. Jonathan Karsh. How do we feel about Jonathan?
He's fine. I don't know. He's no Jeff. I mean, I don't even like. He's okay. Like, what do you think about Jonathan? To be honest,
I mean, I just feel like he's basically like a Jeff Probst lighting double, just trying to do Jeff Probst's impression. It seems like.
Yeah, the thing with Jonathan Karsh is that, you know, before Kidnation, he was a filmmaker. I think 4 years before, he premiered a documentary at Sundance and won Best Director. And, you know, it was a documentary called My Flesh and Blood, and it was about a film in the year of the life of this family, but it was focused on children. So I assumed that CBS was like, okay, this guy, you know, he made a documentary about children, you know, he's going to be able to interact with these children well. But I don't really think that comes across like on screen that well. It doesn't seem like he's really like interacting with the kids that much. He's kind of just, trying to take pages from Jeff Probst's book, but it's kind of just like, just might as well just get Jeff or something like that. Yeah. I don't know what he's doing.
This was his last on-screen credit.
Ah, so tragic. I miss him every single day. I want to see how Jonathan Karsh is doing. I'm sure he's doing fine.
Doing okay. Yeah. He seems like he's still working, but on the other side of the camera. And we meet the children, and then also we're going to have 4 leaders who, much like the Brains tribe in Survivor Cagayan, they get dropped off via helicopter, which I thought was a little extra.
They deploy them like it's like Boston Rob and Russell coming out of the helicopter. It's like, who are these legends coming out? And you just see, you know, a little kid with glasses and a black cowboy hat. Like, am I supposed to know who these people are? It's just a bunch of kids.
Yeah. So we have 4 leaders. They are Mike, Taylor, Anjay. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
And Laurel. They are the 4 leaders. How did the leaders get selected, Phil?
I mean, well, I think some of the kids were like, I think Laurel and Anjay were selected because they both seem like very, very intelligent kids, and they seem like they're kids who would be good leaders. And then I think with Mike and Taylor, CBS knew these kids are going to be reality TV gold, as like, you know, they seemed like both just really, really bossy children, kids who you don't really want to play with on the playground. And so the fact that they put them in an authority position makes it seem like, man, I don't know, it makes TV gold. Yeah. And I think that's why they picked them. Okay,
so let me describe the 4 leaders. Mike is 11 going on 47, seemingly. He's very uptight.
He's way too uptight. I don't know, like, what does he do on the playground when he's a kid? I have no idea. Like, he just seems like he doesn't want to have any fun at all.
Mike has no friends in real life.
Of course, yeah.
Presumably.
There's no way he does. I don't really see how he could.
That's why he's advanced very far in the Boy Scouts. I think that's also like a telltale sign of not a super active social life, that he's really pursued, like, well, at least I will advance in the ranks of the Boy Scouts.
I feel like it's kind of a red flag, to be honest. Maybe a little bit.
There's Taylor, who seemingly her only character trait so far is that she's here to show older kids that they're not all that. She's there to represent younger kids. She's good with younger kids. She is a younger kid. She doesn't want to listen to older kids.
Yeah, Taylor is like, the first thing that Taylor says is that, you know, if I could make this a better world, I'd bring world peace to Africa and all the orphans, and especially to Iraq. And that would be the #1 place that needs world peace, you know? And I think that that quote perfectly sums up everything about who Taylor is. You know, she's a pageant queen who's kind of saying things that she actually has no real world idea of what they actually mean, but she says them and thinks they mean something, you know, and that's kind of all that Taylor is. We'd
like some of that world peace, Taylor.
Yeah, no.
Whenever you're ready.
Taylor is a natural born politician. I really think so. You'll I think Taylor would do great in office. I think she'd be amazing. Are you kidding me? She'd fit right in. I think she'd be fantastic.
Okay. Then we have Anjay. Anjay, I didn't really get much of a read on. I feel like that we saw the least of him out of the 4 leaders that get dropped off.
Yeah, Anjay, he's working at Microsoft now. So, you know, that's the thing. Some of the kids are just super, super intelligent. And so, you know, Anjay's doing great now. And I'm sure, you know, this was just a great thing for Anjay to put on his resume, put on his LinkedIn at the time. And so I think, you know, he's also he seems like a very smart kid, and he seems like someone who is, you know, able to handle, you know, situations. Well, I'm not sure how good he is socially. And I think that's kind of one of the things we're going to be able to see develop on the show. But I think Anjay's cool.
Yeah. And then there's Laurel. We're told that she is a respected student leader. She has some sort of a heavy New England accent.
Yeah, I don't actually know where she's from, but yeah, you definitely get that. Laurel, to me, is, I think, the most intelligent person on this show.
Oh.
Like, not in terms of, like, you know, book smarts, but just in terms of, like, when she's on the show, Laurel actually has a little bit of, like, just an adult sense, I feel. Like, she's just, I guess, matured quickly, or, I don't know, like, whenever
she's a respected student leader.
Yeah, I mean, she's just very empathetic. She knows how to, she talks to the kids like she's an adult, but, you know, she's still a kid. I don't know. She has a great sense of just, like, bringing people together. I think Laurel's amazing on this show.
Okay. So the kids are told here are wagons filled with supplies. You'll need to transport them to Bonanza City. I could not believe this grueling physical activity that they are going to put the children through to push these stagecoaches filled with supplies and livestock to Bonanza City, single file.
Yeah, they treat it like it's the beginning of, like, Survivor Guatemala. Like, they're having these kids just haul ass for, like,
who is this for? I don't want to see children doing manual labor.
It's horrible. You know, you see DK, who's now, he passes out. He just totally passes out. And, you know, I think that would be a great opportunity, you know, for CBS to show, okay, they have medics on team. Because in Survivor, if that happened, a medic would come on. But no, it's just all the kids are standing around like, I don't know what to do. Zach runs over and Zach is just like, oh, I don't know what happened. Like, I think you might have had a stroke or something. These kids have no idea what is going on. And yeah, it's insane that they did this.
Really, if this was a camp, there would be a counselor. There's no nurse. There's nothing.
Yeah, Zach says, I think it's like a spasm or something. And DK's just on the ground. Like, it's insane that, you know, of course they did have a medic team out there, but we never really see anything like that. I feel like it would be good to kind of show, like, okay, you know, there's someone responsible, you know, here, but we see none of that ever.
Right. If they were making this show in 2020, they would go out of their way to tell us that the children are being supervised, that there was a doctor on hand, that we did psychological evaluations, that it would be very much like, do not worry, everything here is fine. And this show goes out of its way to say, no, these children are very much in danger.
It's just a total mess. Like, you know, it kind of begins like, you know, Jonathan's like, all right, there's all these wagons and you guys have, 2 minutes or whatever to grab everything and start to run. And, on Survivor, when that happens, it's like they have this epic marooning music and it seems like, okay, they're about to begin the adventure of a lifetime. But on this, it's kind of just, they just have like a banjo playing and it's just a total mess. These kids are kind of just running around trying to like find chickens and stuff like that. It's insane. It seems like chaos from the first 2 minutes of the show.
Phil, there's another part of the show that we also get at this point where there is a gold star that Jonathan tells us a couple times. It is worth its weight in gold, where whoever is the recipient of it is going to get $20,000. And then I said, okay, maybe this is what's in it for the parents, where, all right, we're going to endanger your child, but they could win money.
Yeah, I think that is, and that's kind of the sad part about it in a way, like, especially if they entice, the parents, like, hey, your kid you can win some money if your kids do this, and I think, I don't really know why the gold star fully exists on the show. I guess it is literally to entice the parents, because I feel like it doesn't really add much to the show, because these kids don't really know how much, $20,000 is fully worth. Like when I was a kid, I thought $20,000, I was like, oh, it's like $1 million. Like if I got that, I could, buy a mansion and my family would be set for life. But these kids have no conception of that at all.
Yeah. My son is 7. He doesn't know the difference between $20 and $20,000.
Yeah, exactly. So it seems like it's such a pointless part of the show, but I guess it is just like, getting the parents to,
If you said to my 7-year-old, hey, a stranger said, I'll give you $40 for your brother, he would take that deal.
Yeah,
fine.
Like,
yeah, sure. That sounds like a lot of money. I don't know.
It could be something. It could be something. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Especially because they have, the children pick. It's the children who are making the decision of who gets $20,000, because who else would? I don't know who else would be making the decision. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. That being said, I do feel like that this idea of, okay, the leaders are going to be handing out a, award to the worker who's working the hardest, unbeknownst to the person who's out there. I do feel like that this is sort of like the backdoor pilot for Undercover Boss. Like, same premise. Same premise. The boss is out there. You don't know that that's the boss. You just do a good job and your boss says, hey, Phil, come here. I got something for you. Gold star.
It's teaching the kids, the value of capitalism and labor from, day one.
Just do a good job, because you don't know who's watching.
Yeah. But the thing is, I feel like if I was on this show, I wouldn't really care that much about, like, okay, what, 20,000? Like, again, I have no idea what this means. Like, I'm going to just keep playing around. 20, who cares if I get a gold star or not? And I feel like that also kind of applies, like, later on with the kids who are just like, some of the kids just don't really care that much.
Yeah. All right. Phil, that the kids get to Bonanza City and they are a little disappointed with the digs at Bonanza City, that it is, I guess, supposed to be some sort of like abandoned ghost town, and the kids are going to sleep on mats. There is a fire or a stove that they have to light with a fire, and things are not very luxurious in Bonanza City.
Yeah, so the set or whatever of Kidnation is actually just an Old West movie set. I think it's Universal's, and they used it. It was built for the Ridley Scott movie with Christian Bale, 3:10 to Yuma. It's just an Old West set. And so they kind of just had that, and they're like, oh, CBS was like, can we use this to put, 40 kids and to film a reality TV show real quick? And now they still use that set for a lot of Old West stuff. But it's insane to me, not insane, but it's odd that, they didn't really, it seems like they didn't really do that much to change it. Like, the kids' living arrangements, like you said, they're horrible. There's a sleeping, it's like these wooden boards and these like thin mattresses. And it's like, CBS didn't try to buff it up or clean anything up or anything like that. It's disgusting.
Yeah. The kids are sleeping on basically like a blanket on a wood floor.
It's disgusting. I can't believe, and there's no real reason for it. You know, it's like, we talk about a lot on Survivor about how now we don't really care to see people suffer that much. You know, we've kind of moved past that as a show. And it seems like that's kind of all Kid Nation has, really. Like, there's no strategy. So what else is there to do besides watch these people suffer? You know, like, why not let the kids sleep on a bed? It's okay. Like, you know, what's the harm in that? I don't understand. It's just adding.
You could have given these kids mattresses. The show would have been exactly the same.
Exactly the same. The kids still would have been miserable. I think it just adds more pain for these poor children. It's gruesome. I don't know.
Yeah. So we got to see a lot about the first night. Dinner is a big part of what's going on. There's no food for the kids. They have to cook for themselves. And so that they're going to sort of work on pasta for 40. But, Phil, there is a lot of confusion about how much pasta do you cook for 40 kids?
Yeah, we get a funny scene where they're like, they have the pot with the water and they're, you know, they have to, light a fire because, you know, it's not an electric stove. So they have to light a fire for this stove, which looks very dangerous. And then they're, you know, starting to put some pasta in the bowl and they're like, you know, how much pasta should we put in? And another kid's like, you know, we got to feed 40 people. And it's just, you know, I think, why not grab a couple of pots? Why not, you know, have a few more pots in the stove? And instead, they just try to put literally all the pasta they have into this one pot, and they realize this is not going to cook. And so they have to, like, just pour it out and just dump out the food. Here's another thing of just, like, I don't know how much food, like, these kids are actually given. Like, Jonathan says it's like 40 days worth of food, but, like, I don't think they're going to let the kids starve, right? So, like, if they run out of food, like, what are they going to do? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed insane that they just seemed like that the move was they just filled a giant like kettle to the top with pasta and then just tried to cook that. That doesn't work. Of course, modern day children, they would know exactly how you do it. They've seen the WAP video. They know about macaroni in a pot. They know what the right amount of water to pasta.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. But that's the other thing is that I don't think any, you know, you think your kids, I mean, I don't know if your kids can cook, but it seems like it's an impossible task anyways. It's always going to be an impossible task. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I cook macaroni and cheese for my kids, and you make one box, and they're like, "That this is it, Dad." I don't know how many boxes you would need to make to feed 40 children. I mean, these children must have been hungry. That they worked all day, and then they got like a spoonful of pasta.
It's insane because when they drop the kids off, you know, they're starting to figure out their sleeping arrangements, and they're like, and then Mike, one of the leaders, he's like, you know, we'll figure out sleeping arrangements after dinner, after we eat dinner. Yeah. But I don't think the kids realize at the time that they're the ones that are going to be making dinner. You know, I think they still kind of think, you know, okay, you know, catering, craft services is going to get us something and we'll figure it out then. Mm-hmm. But they truly, from the beginning, have to entirely fend for themselves. And yeah, you know, it turns out the pasta didn't really turn out that well. It looked kind of gross.
It's also sad at one point where one of the kids like says, "All right, this is not working," and just dumps out the whole pasta in, and it's like the pasta has taken the form of the pot. Then they dump it out on the ground. That's sad. It's sad when Taylor cries that she's missing protein, that she hasn't had any meat in a long time. That's also sad.
Yeah, that scene is such an interesting scene now looking at it, because that scene is Taylor's like real like Joker origin story. Like that's the one time where we see Taylor like fully, you know, feel like emotional and like she feels like a child in that one scene where it's like, this is a lot. I'm too young for this. Like, I don't know what's going on. And after that, Taylor's attitude is just like, I'm going to make them all pay for this. Like, it's insane that we get this one little scene where, you know, she's a kid. And then after that, you know, she's a killer. Taylor's a killer.
She's a killer. Yeah. One of the kids says it's their worst day in 3 years.
So that kid is Jared. I feel like every time Jared says anything, I'm going to try to write it down because Jared, I think, is the funniest kid on the show. He just says,
Jared's the kid with the glasses and the red shirt and the cowboy hat.
Yeah,
he's
Jared.
the best. He's the best kid.
He's just so weird. I don't really know what his archetype. He's like one of the few kids with no real archetype. He's not like, he has the cowboy hat, but he doesn't seem like he's from like the South or the West or anything. I don't know what his whole bit is. He's just Jared. He's just so himself. He looks like Ryan Ulrich kind of, but like when he was 11.
Yeah, I feel like that was like a meme during Survivor 35.
Was it?
That kid. I remember seeing pictures. He grew up to be Ryan Ulrich. It's the same shirt.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same shirt. It's the same face. I don't know. Yeah, he says it's the worst day in 3 years. I don't know what happened to him when he was 8 years old. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
All
right. Day 2 comes around and we get back to cooking. And so we're going to start making pancakes for 40. Starts out okay. Too many kids are eating pancakes. Other kids, little kids, are not getting any pancakes. And this has devolved into chaos.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, as adults, it'd be hard to get 40 kids to say, okay, one pancake for each person, one pancake. There's no way that, an adult can, really force these kids to have one pancake. So, the fact that these kids are authority, like, it's a joke. They have no chance. It's just, it's whatever goes. Like, I think either it was Pharaoh who's the one who's just eating, I think he had like 3 pancakes and it just is like, I don't care. I don't care if it's not fair.
In fairness to the kids, they had no dinner and now it's the next day and they're kids and there's pancakes in front of them and they're like, oh wait, like I shouldn't have 2 because there's other kids that didn't have any. What do you want? What do you want from these kids?
It's hard. I don't know. And especially because, before, we get any sense of structure to the show, there's no kids that are actually like in charge of cooking yet.
Yeah.
So we get like 30 kids who are just in the dining room cafeteria, just like banging their forks and knives on the table. Like, we're hungry. We want pasta. We want pancakes. And it's just like,
right.
Sophia in the back, just like trying to cook for all these kids, even though she doesn't even have to. It's just, no one's assigned to any roles at all. And, kids are still, they still are like, I guess, like entitled to like, I obviously like they're used to being fed, and so.
Right. Like my kids, if I just decided one day, all right, you're on your own for breakfast, they wouldn't know what to do.
No clue at all.
Yeah. I'd come in the kitchen like there'd be like a half gallon of milk on its side in the kitchen, cereal everywhere. That there would be no chance that pancakes would be served.
Yeah, I mean, also like the producers, like we see the producers like writing a lot of like they have a cookbook, right? They have like a cookbook, so to imply that like the producers are they're helping these kids out, they're giving them they know exactly the right amount of stuff to put in. But, like, it's hard to follow a recipe now, to be honest. Like, these kids
pictures.
are not. Yeah. With no pictures, they just have to, like, look at, like, there's no chance. I don't see any way. Pinterest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of recipes on there, Phil.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, if these kids had their phones, it'd be different. They'd be looking at TikTok recipes now or something like that. But yeah, no, there's no chance.
Phil, do you cook anything?
No, I don't know how to cook at all. Like when I'm, not with my parents or anything, it's bad. Like when I'm not with my parents, I make peanut butter and jelly or I make mac and cheese, and or sometimes
you could do it.
Eat tuna.
You could do it. Like if you were there, you would be able to help the children.
These kids would be eating worse than they are now. I'm telling you. I'm telling you that these kids, the mac and cheese might be okay, but if I had to cook anything else for these kids, it'd be a disaster.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is that like, I don't think any of these kids are like that good of cooks. Maybe, over the course of the show, they learn something, but these kids are going to be eating pretty bad for 40 days. Yeah. And I think this is the first time they're coming to terms with like accepting like, oh, wow, like This is it. This is our food.
Yeah. And then, Phil, this is when Mike takes the opportunity to have a meeting where he wanted to have a meeting at dinner. It did not go well the night before. He figured, okay, I'm going to have a morning meeting with everybody. And it's not going great because there's another kid, Greg, who is kind of a bully jerk, is pushing back.
This is where we get the start of the Mike versus Greg power struggle. And again, like that's kind of one of the interesting things about the show is that, of course, there's no strategy or whatever, but it's still interesting to watch the push and pull of these kids trying to, you know, take all the power. Like we see Mike from the very beginning of the show, like telling the kids, like, come on, keep going, keep pushing the wagon. Like we got to keep going, even though Mike's not carrying anything. And so here, like Mike is trying so desperately hard to be the leader, but it's clear that he has no idea what he's doing. And Greg, who's, you know, the oldest one, like Mike is like, I think 12 or something like that. And Greg is 15, you know, which when I was a kid and I was Jimmy's age when I watched the show, and Greg looked like a full adult to me. So Greg was just like, Greg realized Mike has no idea what he's doing, and I can just belittle him all I want, and there's nothing that Mike can do about it. And so then we start to see the push and pull of Mike, you know, being so frustrated, upset that he can't, you know, crying that Greg is just kind of like poking him and just being like, shut up.
Yeah. Greg is a real antagonist here in Kidnation.
Yeah, we'll get that for the rest of the show. Greg is kind of, he's the bully. He is totally, I think, casted as the bully archetype, and you know, he doesn't really care that much. I think Greg is kind of, you know, if you're the oldest person there and you're the school bully, it's like, oh man, this is great. Like I can do whatever I want to these guys, and there's nothing that anybody, and the producers, of course, are encouraging it. The producers are loving it. Of course,
they love it.
Greg.
I think they went out of their way to say, "Oh, this kid Greg, he is a huge DICK. Put him on the show."
It's great. It's, you know,
I don't know if actual kids are listening to this podcast.
I'm sure there's a lot of kids, you know, really, they're trying to, you know, rewatch the show, and, you know, I'm sure a lot of kids are watching this. So I'm going to say, you know, Greg's kind of a dick. I mean, you know, he's 16 years old. I'm sure he might be nice now. Although I was listening to an interview with Laurel, who's now, you know, an adult, and she says, no one talks to Greg right now. No one keeps in touch with Greg.
I don't think this is a hot take. You're a 15-year-old dick. You're probably also a 28-year-old dick.
That's kind of what it seems. And I'm sure, like, this show probably. Actually, never mind. I was going to say it, like, probably damaged his psyche and, you know, made him, but, you know,
Greg's
he was
out
still
there
a dick
somewhere,
to begin with.
Like, you can't tell me to wear a mask, Mike. You don't tell me what to do.
Oh my God. Greg is definitely an anti-masker now, for sure. There's no way.
You're not the boss of me.
I hope Greg is listening to this. Greg, you suck. No.
Right. Hey, Phil, don't get me beat up by the bullies.
All right, sorry. Yeah, no, there's Sorry, Greg, you're amazing on the show. You were the leader of Kidnation, and you really told Mike off by, you know, Mike was trying to lead, and you got to stop him. Yeah.
The council members are going to go to the chapel because allegedly there is some ancient text that was abandoned by the leaders that before they left a mass exodus of Bonanza City. They basically wrote a letter of resignation of like, we have failed as the leaders of Bonanza City to whomever may concern. Here's where we went wrong. We have done a whole like exit interview here. What we did wrong was we realized that we were too divided. We were too divided as a people. Here's what you need to do. Divide into 4 groups.
Yeah, again, like this type of stuff, like, you know, obviously, you know, the leaders of whatever the Bonanza City was at the time, or what have you, we're not writing this. This is kind of, and this is the structure of the show where the producers are able, every episode, the kids are going to go to the chapel, and the producers are going to tell the kids, okay, this is what this episode is about. This is what you guys are going to do. And so this episode is just, the producers being like, all right, here's the structure of the show. You guys are getting 4 different bandanas and you guys are going to divvy up for some reason, to make the show interesting.
Yeah, the mythology is that, we didn't know how to work together. So you have to break into 4 groups. There's also a pile of bandanas on the table. And then also red lives here, green lives here, blue lives here, yellow lives here. This is the perfect way to make Bonanza City work.
Yeah, they kind of just like yada yada through, again, like the historical, whatever fictional Bonanza City that they have. It's kind of just like, all right, start something. Like we got to get through this episode. Like hurry up. Yeah. All right, get your bandanas. Like let's get a draft going.
Yes, Phil, is it a draft? They sort of like divvy up the kids. It's sort of unclear. They have a chalkboard. They're just writing names down.
Well, that's the thing.
It didn't really seem like that anybody ever there was some conflict for, oh no, I wanted that person.
That's the thing. It's like, it was like the draft in like Survivor Amazon, it was just kind of like they had all these kids make the decisions for themselves, which I guess, like, of course, that's what the show's about. But we're later going to see that these kids are competing with each other. And so there was no real, I feel like, the producers should have, picked, the teams themselves in order to kind of make it as fair and equal as possible. So, when these kids are competing with each other and these kids are interacting with each other, there's some kind of level of equality and fairness. But no, it's just the leaders making the decision. And, Andre picks the Greg and Blaine, who are just the 2 biggest guys. And there's nothing that anybody else can really do about it. Although I don't think anyone else really cares,
Yeah. Nobody really wanted it. Like, oh, well, those kids are jerks anyway. We don't really want them. But Andre's like, I'll take the 2 biggest kids on my team. Sure.
Yeah.
So he takes them. And then Mike, he's the red team, right?
Yeah. Mike's the red team, and he picks DK and Jared just because they're friends.
Yeah, they do a lot of like, well, these 2 guys are friends, so let's just keep them together. Don't want to split them up.
And again, the thing with the show is that like we don't get a full draft. Like we never ever get like Jonathan or the kids being like, okay, like Hunter, you're on the green team. Morgan, you're on the like. We get like every kid says like 2 to 3 people that they like. And that's kind of it. And that's kind of the way the show works, is that like, there's some kids that are just boring and not interesting to watch. And I think the producers realized that pretty early on. That's why there's 40 kids, because not all of them are going to pop on TV. So they just, all right, here are the people that we're concerned about. Here's who Andre's picking. Andre's picking Alex,
right.
Tyler's picking these 2 people. And that's all we have to really care about.
So Kidnation is a little bit like Lost, of that the plane crashed in the Old West. We're going to get to know our principals, and then there's a lot of like Nikki and Paolo's and background characters that we're never going to watch. And imagine how frustrating it must have been, Phil. Like, you send your kid off to go be on Kidnation for 40 days. You tune in every week of like, all right, let's watch Billy on Kidnation. Everybody, he's on TV. And then it's like, oh, wait, was that your elbow?
It's like, on another show, you'd prep your kids for like the physicality or, mental toughness. On Kidnation, if I was a parent, I'd prep my kid to be the most entertaining kid in the entire world, because that's how we're making our money. That's how, that's the only way you can really succeed on Kidnation, is if you're entertaining enough for America.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
so
it's perfect. Yeah.
Taylor, she has the youngest kids because she doesn't think that the older kids will listen to her, so she's going to go with all the younger kids.
Picks Andre, yep.
Yeah, but we have some bad behavior manifesting here in Bonanza City, because that Greg and Blaine that we talked about, the 2 a-holes, they, like in the middle of the night, go out, Phil, and they start defacing all of Bonanza City with their tags blue.
Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Rob, I have something to admit, and I think that it's kind of obvious, but, this whole scenario is all producer prompted. It's all the producers. It's shocking, right? Where the producer said, hey, Greg, go right. Because you would think that the mind of a 15-year-old would not. If a 15-year-old was to write graffiti, on someone else's home, they probably wouldn't just write go team, go blue. Like you think they'd their mind would kind of go elsewhere, but no, they just
Greg
and Blaine.
Right.
Yeah. It's just
Mike
blue.
sucks. Right.
And so that's kind of it. And Alex, Alex is one of the kids who I think is, again, he's so cute, so smart. He just says like, he's 9 years old and he's talking about 15-year-olds. And Alex says, it's really stupid that they did that. It's juvenile. I think this is so juvenile. It's like 2-year-old behavior.
Yeah. So,
which, whatever.
Yeah. Tensions are running high in Bonanza City and we're going to have a showdown. Okay. The showdown is going to incorporate how we're going to get currency into this. Even before Fire Tokens, there was currency in CBS Reality. And we're going to end up having like paid wages for people, but there's like a whole like caste hierarchy that's going to, and Phil, they lost me here on how all this is going to work. This was very confusing.
Yeah, well, they essentially are doing that again because the producers and everyone is trying to say like, this is a social experiment show. We're trying to make these kids live in our American society and can they thrive? But, and I guess they're also trying to just give these kids something to do, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of the way the show works is that, instead of immunity challenges, these kids are going to compete where, the upper class or so the laborers who, if you do the worst in the challenge, if you place 4th place, you get paid 10 cents a day or whatever, or a round, I guess, for, doing all the manual labor. So cleaning the bathrooms, getting water, doing like cleaning up, doing all that kind of stuff. The cooks, who are 3rd place, get 25 cents for, doing all the cooking. The merchants, because they also talk about, Jonathan says that they're starting to open stores. So there's a candy store, there's a saloon, there's like a dry goods store where kids can, get bicycles or whatever. And so the people who run those shops are the merchants who get 50 cents a round. And then if you place 1st place, if you win the challenge, you get a full dollar. And you don't have to do anything. You literally have to do nothing. Yeah. And so I guess that's enticing for these kids to, again, like it gives it some kind of drama, I guess. I don't know. But it lost you.
We have this competition, and then on top of the competition, we're going to get like roles in the society, and then that's going to determine like how much you get paid. But then you also have to do the worst jobs also. So it's like, it's not enough you lost the challenge, but you also, it's like, okay, you lost the challenge. You have to do the worst jobs and you get paid the least amount of money. Like you have to pay these kids that go clean the toilets also, that you lost the challenge, go clean the toilets, and you also get 10 cents.
Yeah, I mean, again, like,
enough is enough.
It's a metaphor. I mean, they're trying to say, again, I guess this show, Kidnation is a capitalist critique, I guess, where it's the people on the bottom get paid the least, I guess.
And they work the hardest. And then the people at the top, they get paid the most money. They don't do anything.
Wow. I think you might have solved Kidnation. You might have figured it out, Rob.
Did I figure it out, or was Kidnation like, so it's like, it's a mirror of like, was Kidnation anti-capitalism propaganda where they're sort of saying like, hey, this is not right.
I think that's exactly what they were doing. I think, or not, maybe not saying that's not right, but I think they were trying to, push like, wow, isn't it messed up that the people on the bottom are getting paid anything? And I guess we're going to see the frustration of, people who, keep losing again, because the leaders picked their own teams off of no fairness whatsoever. The producers didn't pick it. So there's going to be teams that, keep losing, and they're not going to get the upper class. And, we get that kind of frustration, which I guess is where the entertainment comes from. But, I guess they're trying to, provoke something, even though I don't know if it fully comes through with the American audience. I don't know. Yeah. It's a lot.
Okay. They have this challenge. The challenge was neither here nor there for me. They had to like move giant oil rigs around with colored water. I'm not interested in adults doing a challenge. That kids doing a challenge was, I was very bored during this part.
Yeah, it's it's definitely not the challenge level. It's not even Survivor level. I guess it's like a step up from Big Brother, I'd say. But the challenges we're going to see are not like, they're not really reinventing the wheel. It's like bootleg Survivor challenges, kind of, for the most part.
Yeah, and it seemed very dangerous to have children carrying around like what looked to be like a 30-foot high oil rig.
Oh, just get ready, Rob.
Okay,
just
good.
get ready.
I'm ready. All right. So I didn't even realize that there was like a second part of this. I guess all the teams completed the challenge, and the host comes back out. Here comes Jonathan, and he has a reward for the entire town. Okay, so he comes out and says, "All right, you know how you've all been using one bathroom? Also, criminal in my mind. You have 40 children." You had one outhouse for 40 children. I have two boys. We have one bathroom that they use. Disgusting. It's great that I hear my wife 3 times a day. Oh my God, this bathroom is disgusting.
It must have been horrible. I think I heard one of the kids, saying, they had to wait like 3 hours or whatever to use the bathroom, which makes sense. There's 40 kids and kids are all disgusting.
They're all disgusting.
Another thing, I guess, they didn't do a good job explaining with the challenge is that, so in every episode, right, the challenge is going to happen regardless. Basically, whoever, the challenge is about who, is upper class versus lower class. But if the kids are able to do the challenge in under an hour for this episode, then they're given the option of the reward. So that doesn't always happen. And so we see in this episode that, like, the blue team who, is placing in last place regardless, but they do like a photo finish, like they have 14 seconds left on the clock. And I think that's kind of just like the editors kind of putting in like, adding suspense in afterwards, like, oh, look how close they made it. But they kind of set up the dilemma
wasn't
because
that close. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because also like there's no way that they wouldn't set up the dilemma in the first episode, like of course, like you want to show me everything you got in the first one,
Okay. So Jonathan comes in and he has an offer for the kids. All right. First he says, all right, we have something for you. Okay. You know how you have one bathroom for the entire town? We could give you 7 more. You'll have 8 outhouses for 40 people. Or let's say we have a sweetener. What do you think of this?
So which reward will you choose? 7 more outhouses or this? TV.
All right, 7 more outhouses or a TV. This did not look like a great TV, Phil. Did not come with a DVD player. I do not know if they had cable. What were they supposed to watch on this TV?
Rob, I don't think the TV was going to happen anyways. Not to spoil their decision, but it would seem counterintuitive if the kids were kind of just like, if they picked the TV. And then the kids were kind of just watching SpongeBob all day, I don't think you have a show after that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they just like or why they added that in, but yeah, I mean, it's clear that they were trying to set up some dilemma for the kids, but there's no way the kids were going to pick the TV, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
a lot of the kids made good points of like, well, that we're going to get a TV, and then when do we even have time to watch TV? It'll just distract us from doing more work. There's no good reason to have a TV, but counterpoint.
Well, because let's say that there's a tornado coming this way. How in the world will we tell?
Yeah. If there was a tornado, if we were watching TV, there might be like, this just in, a tornado is about to hit Bonanza City. Everybody needs to get inside their sets to make sure that they will be protected from the tornado.
If that happened, Jonathan would be like, you guys should have picked the TV. Sorry. It's your decision. We have to leave you guys to fend for yourselves. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's no way. There's absolutely like obvious, but also I guess that's a good argument if you really just want to watch TV because you're bored and you don't, I'm sure that kid, Brett was just kind of standing around like, all right, what else is there to do? Like, all right, I need some TV. I need something going on. So,
yeah. Well, look, Phil, I have to say I can relate. I feel like that it's like, well, Rob, why haven't you gotten anything done for the last 4 years? It's like, well, I had to keep refreshing Twitter to make sure that I knew if something happened. Okay.
Yeah, the kids would have, he would have taken TV duty. He would have been like, you know what? I'm going to be the one to really make sure that there's no tornado coming or anything like that. Everyone else can keep doing work, but I'm going to focus on the TV, the TV part.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. So the kids are going to select the porta potties, the more outhouses to celebration.
We got the porta potties.
Yeah.
It's the right decision, I would say. I mean, would you agree? Or
yeah, for sure, for sure. That all the kids are excited.
It seems like responsible for like kids to, because in every episode too, they're going to set up the dilemma of like, here's the responsible choice versus here's the fun choice, and so it's interesting to see, the kids kind of make a good adult decision.
We can learn from the children. Yeah,
that's good. Exactly.
One of the other children tells us another advantage of having more outhouses.
Restroom.
It's also nice that we don't really have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Yeah, that would hurt your colon.
Yeah, you could hurt your colon if you wait 3 hours for the bathroom.
They get experts on the field to really, these kids know everything.
They know everything.
I would have loved to see the visual of just like the 3 hour long bathroom line.
Yeah,
of just
come
like
on,
looking.
They're not even eating that much. Come on. It must have been that kid that ate 3 pancakes.
Yeah. Also, I'm sure that these kids were probably just, not using the outhouse. You think Greg was really waiting in line for the outhouse?
Yeah. He went right to Mike's bunk. Brought his chalk. Blue was here. Now, blue is now yellow.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
yeah.
Speaking of the yellow team, they are the cooks. They have to take over. And we have a true case of maybe too many cooks in the kitchen, because Sophia, who had really earned rave reviews in the kitchen for all of her cooking, she does not really like how the yellow team has been doing the cooking. Even though people say the yellow team did a great job cooking, Sophia says, yeah, all right, anybody can cook, but who can clean the kitchen? Yeah, you're the cooks, but what's this whole mess? And,
Taylor's response is, Taylor is a total tyrant. Taylor says, I'm not doing dishes. I don't really clean. I don't do dishes. And that's kind of what she says. She's like, sorry, it's not my job. I don't know what you want me to do. Even though she's the leader of the yellow team, she's saying, there's nothing y'all can do about it. Sorry, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no, but Taylor makes a good point that I say this to my children. I say, hey, guys, you have to clean up. I said, but Dad, we don't like cleaning up. Oh, okay then.
I'm sure, Taylor also probably doesn't you think Taylor knows how to wash a dish? Not to, critique her parents or anything like that, but I'm sure Taylor was not raised in that in the type of household where, she was doing all the cleaning. And so Taylor was probably like, look, it's not my job,
Phil, if you are going to solve world peace, you can't be bothered with the dishes, okay?
She's on some other stuff right now. And again, we're getting the more hardened Taylor, who's, firm in her decisions.
Phil, I've got Iraq on the other line. Can you just take care of the dishes for me? I'm this close.
And so because of Taylor's leadership, none of the yellow team, wants to do the dishes. We get Layla, who's also on the yellow team. She's 9 years old. She's very young. And in a confessional, she looks like she's 40 years old. She's already so old and jaded. And she's like, we're cooking breakfast and lunch and dinner. She looks exhausted. They're putting these kids through a lot. And so if Taylor says, we're not doing the cleaning, we're not doing the cleaning. And there's nothing that anybody can do about it,
Now, when you are the cooks, are you supposed to be doing the cleaning, or does the last place team, after they get done with the outhouses, do they have to come through and do the dishes?
I think it depends. If Taylor's on the yellow team, then the lower class has to do the dishes, But if it's if it's on Sophia's, if it's the green team who's doing the cooking, maybe they'll do the dishes. I guess it's just about who's nice in this society, but Taylor's not doing any of that. There's no way.
Phil, we get the commerce going in Bonanza City. We open up the stores, and yeah, it's a little bit sort of like the what was the name of the place, like in Pinocchio, where like Pinocchio, like in all of his like jackass friends go to, like that's sort of like what opens up here, where we open up a candy store, a soda store, lots of places that are sort of like bad behavior for children. I think is really endorsed by Kidnation.
Yeah, like they set up like. Again, like it's this old saloon, you know, and that was one of the things that was critiqued, I guess, you know, by critics and people at the time was like, these kids are going to the bar, like after a hard day's work, they're going to the barkeep, you know, slamming a buffalo nickel down on the table and be like, give me another one. I need a soda right now. And, you know, the visual of that might not be great, but you know, it's, you know,
I'm going to need another Snickers with that Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, you know, again, like these kids have no responsibility, so they have to set up this Neverland, this Neverland idea or whatever, you know, Pinocchio went to, where it's like, you know, these kids have no responsibilities. No one can tell them, you know, don't have chocolate before dinner. If Jared wants to have chocolate, he's going to have chocolate, and no one can tell him otherwise.
Phil, is there one toothbrush in Kidnation?
I don't think there's. You think a single kid brought their toothbrush? I'm sure. I'm sure maybe someone's mom or, you know, dad packed them a toothbrush, and the kids probably did not look at it. It stayed at the bottom of the bag for the majority of the 40 days. They don't have sinks either, so I don't know how they would brush their teeth or anything like that, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think, there's no way. They're just eating candy and rotting their teeth, and that's kind of the way Kidnation functions.
So while many of the kids are looking for soda, looking for sugar in any form that they can get it, there's one child who sees something else that they have their eye on. Sophia, the cook, she sees a bicycle in the general store. The bicycle costs $3. She does not have $3. And she says, hey, there's only one way that I can earn the money for this bicycle. I'm going to dance for money.
Dance in the streets.
I'm going to go to the street, and I'm going to dance and beg people for nickels in the street by dancing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Again, like I didn't read anything, but you have to assume that a producer was like, yo, Sophia, if you'll get this bike if you go and dance in the street. You know, that'd be funny. Go.
You think that Sophia was prompted to do this? That feels more wrong than Sophia coming up with this idea on her own.
I think the whole conception of this show is wrong, Rob. I think, you know, at this point, they're already in it. Let's just, you know, let's get this girl to just get this I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it might have been producer prompted, I would say. But it's a ridiculous visual of Sophia with a mason jar, empty mason jar. It'd be like, and just kind of doing weird suggestive dance moves. 14 years old. I don't know. It's rather odd, but
Phil, was this a good lesson for you know, I guess go back to being 8-year-old Phil. Was this a good lesson to have learned of, like, hey, you know, get it, Sophia, you know, go out there and use what you got? Or was this sort of the wrong idea?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I thought she was a hustler. You know, I was like, you know, go do your thing. Like, I didn't know what, I guess, the real world, like, version of that was at all. But I was like, you know, like, that's how you make money, you know? Like, she needs that $3 bike. I don't know what for.
Sophia,
you know? I don't know where she's going.
OnlyFans in 2007.
We should ask her about that. I have no idea. Maybe.
We will not. Sophia is going to dance for money in the street, and she tells us that there are but 3 dance moves a person needs to know on this earth. Here they are. According to Sophia, this is all you need to know to dance.
These are the 3 dance moves that will get you through life, okay? Pull up your pants.
Okay, 1, pull up your pants, Phil.
Noted. Okay.
Okay?
Yep, got
it's
it.
like, pull up your pants. That's 1. 2.
Open the drawer.
Open the drawer. Okay?
Okay, noted.
You're going to
Yep,
open your drawer, and number 3. Swim.
Have you heard of these dances before, Rob?
No, but I don't know how to dance, Phil. So now I feel like, okay, Sophia taught me, all right, next time I'm at a wedding, if I'm ever at a wedding ever again, I'm going to pull up my pants. I'm going to open the drawer, and then I'm going to swim. And then my wife said, what the hell are you doing? You are embarrassing me. I'm like, Nicole, that Sophia from Kidnation told me I only need to know these 3 dance moves. That's it. Give me a nickel.
Were you at the club in the year 2007? No one was doing the drawer move. No one was doing any of that, really?
I don't know if I was at a club in 2007. Perhaps, but no, I didn't, because I didn't watch the show. I only learned this today.
Right. Yeah. Listen, she might have inspired a whole generation. You know, who knows? Maybe kids my age were doing the drawer move.
Open the drawer.
Open the drawer. I don't know.
Open the drawer. Pull up your pants. One leg at a time, because this is a podcast. You can't see. She picks up like you would grab one pant leg, pick it up, grab the other pant leg, pick it up, repeat. Then open the drawer, one arm, open the drawer with the other arm, and then swim one arm at a time.
I'm not sure what, I guess, the editors or the producers or anybody was really thinking with this scene. And I don't, I have no idea what they were trying to imply about our society. I'm not sure what they were trying to say or anything like that, but I guess it happened. And I guess it's the first episode of Kidnation. So you want to show everything.
Phil, you can make fun if you want. This woman had a jar full of nickels by the end of the day.
Yeah, listen.
Although she said that some of the kids gave her nickels to stop dancing near her.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, what are we doing right now? Although, Greg gave her some nickels. I remember Greg came over. He gave her. He
would. That is classic Greg.
Again, yes. Some people were more into it than others, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a town council. We're going to have a town meeting, a Bonanza City town hall meeting. Get all the kids in one place. We're going to have city council now, Phil.
This is kind of like, if they're trying to rip off Survivor in some way, this is, again, like they're trying to have some kind of structure. And so at the end of every episode, the town council is going to come together, and the leaders of all the teams have already been trying to make the decision of who gets the gold star, who has either worked the hardest or who has earned the gold star. And there's no real criteria for it besides just kind of generally who
we should
worked
give
the
it
hardest.
To. But we open things up, and this is like sort of the same feel as sort of like a Parks and Rec, like a Pawnee City Council meeting of like, does anybody have any grievances they want to air with the leaders? And here's Sophia. She's not happy with the yellow team. They're not cleaning.
And Taylor's response to it is, again, I think Taylor would be such an Taylor should be in the White House, because Taylor's response to Sophia's grievance is just like, we hear you, we understand you. Listen, we're trying to wash these dishes as hard as we possibly can, and we assure you, by the end of this, these dishes will be washed, and we're just trying the best we can. So please sit down. Like, she's like, does not care at all about the fact that she has not done a single thing as a leader. And, she's like, listen, we're working as hard as we can on it right now. Just let us do our thing. We got it.
Yeah. It sort of ends on an awkward beat also, where then Sophia, are you happy with that answer? And she's kind of like, well, if you're saying that, then the leadership is not responsible for washing the dishes, then I guess that's fine. But if you're saying that the leaders are responsible for cleaning the dishes, then I am not fine with this.
Yeah. Again, there's no real rules, so Taylor's allowed to say, and that's, again, the beautiful part about the show is that, and whatever Taylor says is kind of gold, and the kids kind of have to follow, and Taylor doesn't know what's going on. Taylor, is able to just kind of boss people around and that's now the new structure of the show.
Yeah.
Now the cooks don't have to clean anymore.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
Phil, it sets up an awkward moment then when they're going to reveal who gets the gold star. And then it is also going to be Sophia. So the one person that had a complaint about the leadership at the meeting is also going to be the person that gets the gold star.
Yeah, I think, again, there's 4 leaders, and I don't think the all other leaders really like Taylor that much. I don't think anyone really likes Taylor that much. So they're, again, allowed to veto whatever whatever bill Taylor's trying to pass. And they decide, I think like Mike and Anjay and, Laurel are making the big decision here of who gets the gold star.
Mm-hmm.
And Sophia cooked, Sophia actually cooked and she cleaned and, she was a great leader.
Yeah. So she did that. She cooked. She worked hard. She complained about the things that were unjust in the society. She gets rewarded with $20,000. And also she gets to go into the only room in all of Bonanza City with a telephone, and she gets to call her mom, who somehow has a camera crew at her house.
Yeah, see, that is one of the funniest parts about the show to me, is that they definitely obviously 150% pre-taped. Like they taped the conversation with Sophia and her mom, and then they had a crew go to Sophia's mom's house, and they had to say, okay, your daughter just won $20,000. Okay, action. And her mom, we get to watch the great, amazing fake acting of the parents at the end of every episode.
That's interesting. So I would have thought that they maybe like knew, that Sophia's going to get the money, go to the house, and then be there when the phone rings.
I mean, that could, I'm not speaking out of like true authority, but I definitely think that like the logistics of like, even if they have to make the decision the day before, that means that CBS or whoever has to get a camera crew in whatever city or small town in America, they have to go to. I feel like that sounds like a lot. I feel like it's definitely, they tape the one conversation with Sophia, and then they're like, okay, this is what Sophia does. Now, all right, they have a director on set with Sophia's mom, really get her, engage her in the moment. And then they call action and they start rolling at the end of every episode. Mm-hmm. It's weird, but yeah, it's how they do it.
Yeah. Sophia's mom, I think, very pumped up that Sophia's going to get $20,000.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't think Sophia actually gets the money. I don't think legally she can get the. I don't know if that's how it works or not. But it's definitely. I think it goes to the parents, which again probably kind of sucks because I don't think like there's some kids that probably never actually saw that money. I guess, they saw it in the food they ate, and the rent or whatever. But, I'm sure there's some kids that kind of, their parents kind of just kept the money and that was it, which I guess a little exploitative maybe, but, they signed their kids up for the show. So whatever.
Yeah. Phil, and I know they're also still figuring things out. The host of the show, like he puts his arm on Sophia's shoulder, and I feel like it goes on for like way too long. Like, I feel like, did you notice this? Yeah, it was, I mean, he's kind of uncomfortable. It's like a little bit uncomfortable where it's like a weird, like, dynamic where he's the authority, but he also, like, there's one instance before this where because Jimmy has kind of talked about, the 8-year-old Jimmy has talked about throughout the show, throughout the episode about how he's considering quitting. And so, like on Survivor, if something happens, they tell Jeff. So if something happens, they tell Jonathan. So earlier in the episode, Jonathan went up to Jimmy in like in a meeting and he was like, hey, Jimmy, I heard you're thinking about quitting. And, Jimmy kind of says like, I don't know. I think I might be too young for this show. I miss my parents. And then Jonathan's just like, well, don't we all miss our parents? But he says it in a way that makes it seem like, I don't know, he misses his parents too. I feel like Jonathan does a bad job of relating to these kids, to be honest. Let's talk a little bit about Jimmy. Jimmy is the same kid in the opening who said that he thought he was going to die out here. So maybe you wonder, Phil, was his heart in it from the jump?
I don't think so.
Who made Jimmy do this?
I don't know. It seems like from the very beginning, Jimmy has no interest in this
whatsoever.
Does
not want to be here. Does not want to die.
the other kids are trying to be like, come on, Jimmy, like, come on, you don't like this? And Jimmy's like, listen, I like you guys, but I'm going to go home. Like, I don't need this in my life at all.
Yeah. They ask, does anybody want to leave? Anybody can sort of like pull the ripcord at city council. You can leave if you want. If anybody's up for it. Jimmy stands up. They try to say, no, Jimmy, we need you. And he's like, actually, no, I'm still leaving.
Jimmy, come on.
Come on, Jimmy.
Jimmy, why do you want to go home?
I'm really homesick. I think I'm way too young for this.
I am way too young for this. I'm 8. Are you people insane? Like I should be in 2nd grade. I am 8 years old. What do you mean the Old West for?
Yeah, he's the most sensible child in the whole group. You know, I was the same age as Jimmy when I watched the show. So I remember, like, in the first episode, like, Jimmy had the first confessional. And so I was like, yo, this guy's 8 too. Like, this is my favorite. And so I was starting to stand for Jimmy in this one episode. And when Jimmy left, I remember in the moment, like, this guy is a loser. Like, how could he, like, leave? Like, what's wrong with this kid? Even though, like, looking back now, like, hell yeah, like, get out of there. There's no reason for you to really be there if you don't want to do it, you know?
Again, here's Jimmy's words to open the episode.
I'm not going to be with my parents. There's no adults, and I think I'm going to die out here because there's nothing.
Yeah.
And, no, hats off to him, because I'm sure, you know, the producers were trying to always prompt Jimmy, come on, don't leave. You're good on the show. And Jimmy's like, I'm not listening to any of you guys. Even Laurel tries to go up to him, which I'm sure, again, a producer was telling her, come on, Laurel, can you tell Jimmy to stay? And she's really trying to talk to Jimmy. And Jimmy's like, again, like, I'm too young for this. Like, in the first day, Jimmy said, I'm too young for this. This is not for me. I want to go home. I want to go back to my regular childhood.
I don't want to die. Please. I'm 8.
And he's watching, you know, he sees Mike and he sees the leadership in front of him. He says, there's nothing here for me. I'm not going to learn anything here. These people are not going to tell me anything. Like, I need to leave.
I'm 8. Yeah. Nintendo Wii just came out and I have too much to live for.
And you know what? Jimmy seems like he's doing amazing now. I think, again, Jimmy's the one who did the initial, like, Kidnation interview that kind of got everyone back into the show. And Jimmy seems like such a sensible, responsible, you know, young person.
Because he spent 3 days at Kidnation and got the hell out of there.
He knew he's the only one, or not, you know, we'll see. But I do like, again, that, they had that moment, even though it seems like they're trying to, you know, keep all the kids on the show. They do have the moment where Jonathan does ask the kids if they want to quit, because otherwise, you know, it'd be, you can't hold the kids hostage, you know.
Phil, was Jimmy a plant in that they needed somebody to go home in the first episode? You know, you have 40 kids, one kid's going to go home. You got to show the viewers people can leave. You sort of like want to open the door, like, hey, let's thin the herd a little bit. Do you think that they had Jimmy cast as a kid who's like, oh, yeah, the first chance he gets, he's getting right out of here?
Yeah, I think that might be, you know, I mean, maybe not, but also that seems entirely possible, because I know, like, the emotions that Jimmy are feeling are 100% real. There's no way he's acting. I don't think it's like he's doing a Scaramucci or something like that from Celebrity Big Brother. But
he was the twist.
The fake house guest. No, I mean, I definitely think that he was feeling real emotions, but also, yeah, it could be possible that they were like, all right, there's no way this kid's going to make it. And, you know, we need someone to quit. But also, I don't know that they bank on the fact that he was in the first episode, but it could be entirely possible, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Phil, that was the premiere of Kidnation.
Wow. So what did you think overall? Like, just kind of overall thoughts on the first episode. Like, I know we've kind of talked about it, but just like in terms of like, do you think the show has potential? Because you haven't seen the rest of the show. So like, you kind of think it could go somewhere going forward, or?
I mean, I don't know where it's going. I mean, that I am captivated by the fact that this was even a thing. I mean, this wasn't a show from 40 years ago. This was a show that aired during Survivor China. It was not that long ago. The world has changed a lot. This could never be televised now. This could
No way.
This could not be on YouTube.
Yeah. And, we look at, well, again, who knows? Because, Jeff Probst is trying to get, 17 and 16-year-olds on Survivor. And I mean, who knows what could happen, but there's no way.
That's also a bad idea. Just because Jeff wants to do it doesn't mean it's a good idea now.
Yeah, I think, it would totally be massacred and shut down if it came out now. I think this was like, I wish, the thing with Kidnation is that I wish it came out in the year 2000 when we didn't have all these reality TV standards that we do now, where we want, drama and
Phil,
conflict.
what are you saying? That it could, if it came out too late, it could have been a dominant franchise?
I think so. Oh, maybe not a dominant franchise, but I think it would have been more, less focused on like making heroes and villains. I mean, of course, I love that. I love that about, again, it's perfect that we got whatever we got now. But I'm saying, like, in terms of the longevity of the show, like, I think if it started out as more of like what they wanted, which is like this documentary kind of style, social experiment, it could have been more, I guess, like, it could have been interesting. And I think like people would have been more into it as opposed to kind of like getting these kids to haul, like pounds and pounds of rice, miles and miles. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, talk to me about, what do you think like the pitch meeting was for this, where I just feel like that they were probably hoping for like, oh, it's going to be like Lord of the Flies. These kids are going to be like at each other's throats. It'll be great.
I did read basically what, like, how the initial idea started, which is like, what if we did, like, because Lost was also big at the time. Lost, I think, came out like a couple years before.
Yeah, 2004.
And so, they're like, what if we do Lost, but it's Lord of the Flies? That was like the initial pitch was Lost mixed with Lord of the Flies. And then they were like, oh my God, that is genius. And I guess they didn't really prompt anybody else. I think just they were like, okay, that's amazing. Let's roll with that without thinking about the consequences of it. And then they just kind of went with it and they aired it.
Yeah. Also, very frustrating that they could have gone right back to this set, filmed the Survivor season this summer here. No problem. Would have been fine. Could have been
so great.
Survivor, Bonanza City. Would have been just as good as anything.
Yeah, I remember when you were talking about that in May, I was like, they should just use the Kidnation set. Like, they're still using it.
Still
like,
there.
They use that for movies. At least I think it is. But
if it's good enough for 310 to Yuma, it would be good enough for Survivor 41.
But no, well, we're gonna just keep waiting and or whatever. But it would have been perfect. And I don't think it would have, because again, when we watch this, we kind of see that these kids are still struggling. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it would have been different for adults, but also like, that's not what we really watched the show for. Like, Survivor would be fine. And we still get to kind of see people struggling a little bit. It would be okay. Just, dude, we want to see something. We want to see more reality TV.
Phil, can you gauge what my reaction will be for the rest of this? Do you think that I will, am I prepared for what I'm going to see in these next 12 episodes of Kidnation?
I think you're not prepared for it because I definitely
are not ready.
I don't think you're ready for I guess the way this show also, it kind of fits a one season arc beautifully, because unlike a show like Big Brother or Survivor or The Challenge, it's not every episode of Kidnation is kind of about something. There's a theme to it. And because they want the kids to kind of have an activity. So it kind of works beautifully that it kind of has one season where every episode we kind of get, a different type of activity, and you're going to be kind of shocked by some of the things that the kids are going to be doing on the show, which I think will be a lot of fun to talk about. But, I don't know if you're ready for, a show like Kidnation, or I'm sure you're ready for it, but I'm just saying,
okay,
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what you think.
Well, we're going to come back next Friday, and we'll be back to talk about episodes 2, 3, and 4 of Kidnation. They're on YouTube. You can check them out. Yeah. Search for Kidnation on YouTube. You'll find it.
You can watch it. You can watch it at like double speed too if you want. Like there's not, you don't really have to really analyze Kidnation. It's kind of just a show you can put on and laugh at. It's a lot of fun. Like I would recommend if you have roommates or family members, just, put it on the TV.
See what
Everyone's
happens.
going to be glued to it. Yeah. It's good. It's good. Yeah.
All right. So be on the lookout for that. Of course, I'm also very excited that we're going to be kicking off on next week. We've polled the audience. We've polled RHAP Nation and Universe, and we have asked them, rank the 40 Survivor seasons. And over, I think, 2,500 people responded.
Wow.
A lot of people. And this was not like a vote yes or no. You had to move the things around. It was time consuming. We got over 2,000 ballots in to tell us what the 40 season rankings are. We're going to start our countdown, our top 40 countdown from 40 to 1. We will start with the 40th ranked season, the worst season of Survivor, as ranked by the listeners of Rob Has a Podcast, is going to be reviewed next week on Rob Has a Podcast. Very excited about that.
So you know all the results and everything?
No, I have been asked to be told one at a time, but I do know what is going to be the worst season of Survivor. We will announce it soon, and we will put out a survey to get some additional information. We're going to poll the audience every week about MVP and best episode and all sorts of different things that we want to get as much information as we can from the audience to talk about it all with our panel coming up as we recap the worst season of Survivor next week.
I'm so excited to listen to all this. So this is like going to be like my Super Bowl. I'm so excited. This is going to be awesome. It's going to be great.
We can only rank the Kidnation seasons. This is the best season of Kidnation.
It's also the worst season of Kidnation. By far, the worst season of Kidnation they've ever done.
Ever. Yeah. Okay. All right. Phil, where can we keep up with what you're doing?
You can follow me on twitter.com/listenupphilip. And you can also, I'm also writing a lot of movie reviews on this site called Letterboxd. And you can follow me there at letterboxd.com/PNTJR. Doing a lot of writing there. It's a lot of fun.
PNTJR.
Yeah.
Okay. What's a recent movie you reviewed?
I just watched, I saw Wonder Woman, 1984.
Oh, people are saying that is so good. It's the Kidnation of Wonder Woman movies.
Yeah, people are trashing. Listen, it's a superhero movie. It's fine.
Oh,
I don't know.
It's fine.
I think I don't know. It's like, it's problematic sometimes, but also like, it's a superhero movie. I don't know what, it's okay. It's not the worst. It's definitely not good. It's all right. I don't know.
It's fine. Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay.
Soul's also really good too. Everyone should see that movie Soul.
Yeah.
Disney Plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
On Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, Disney Plus.
Okay.
Highly recommend.
All right. Phil, thank you so much. Of course, it's also the start of a new month. It's going to be a great month here. Great time to become a patron of Rob Has a Podcast. We're going to be doing a ton of patron content. We got a lot of patron activities going on. The best time of the month to get started as a patron of Rob Has a Podcast is the first of the month. robhasawebsite.com/patron. Join in on all the fun we have going on behind the scenes at Rob's Podcast. robhasawebsite.com/patron. Happy New Year. Enjoy Kid Nation. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye. Support for this podcast comes from our friends over at Geico. Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work, but you know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. And it's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.